How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech. Now, wireless gaming mice are getting better and better, with there not really being that much performance difference between a wired and wireless. However, for that, usually you do have to pay a bit of a premium for. However, nowadays you can still get really good wireless gaming mice for only $50 that delivers excellent performance and most importantly doesn't break the bank. However, there's pretty much only two mice on the market currently that fits that description. Those mice are the new Harpoon Wireless from Corsair and the well-known G305 from Logitech. So in this video, I want to go over both of these mice and see which one will suit your use case the best. So let's get into that. Just a mention, I have done a full dedicated review on the Harpoon Wireless. So if you want to have more detail about this particular mouse, I will leave a link in the video description where you can check out that review. So starting off with the design, both are medium sized, but the G305 is ambidextrous, so left and right-handed users, and then the Harpoon is only right-handed. Both are pretty much the exact same in dimensions. The 305 is a tiny bit more flatter, whereas the Harpoon has a more of a curved body. Because of their size and design, they are generally more comfortable for a medium-sized hands and in a claw grip style. But of course, you can also use them in a palm or fingertip style grip without any problems. Now, it is definitely worth mentioning that the Harpoon Wireless is the only one with RGB, so that already makes it the best mouse, RGB forever, and I think we can end the review right there. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. But let's just go anyway on with the review and see which one is anyway better between those two, even though the G305 doesn't have any RGB and it only has this gray thingamajig. So, but anyway, let's go on. So moving on to the sides, the G305 again has an ambidextrous shape, so both sides have a smooth, slightly downward curve, with only the left side having two thumb buttons with a good feel. I would have liked if the back button was moved a bit more forward to next to the other one, but that's honestly not really that big of an issue. Even though there is no grips on the sides of the 305, it never really bothered me and was actually extremely comfortable, and I had no problem with finger placement. Moving on to the Harpoon, the left side has a rubberized textured grip with a deep curve towards the two thumb buttons, which places your thumb permanently against those buttons. However, it is still quite comfortable and you don't have to worry about accidentally pressing one of them. The button does have a sharper edge, so you are able to feel it very easily, and they have a short and quick click. Moving to the right side of the Harpoon, you get the same rubberized textured grip, but with a far slighter curve. Finger placement was decent there, with enough space for both of your fingers. Now moving on to the left and the right mouse buttons, both feel pretty good. They do feel a bit different, one with a bit more tension than the other, but nothing is really bad. They both feel light and has a nice snappy response. I will say, however, that the Harpoon is a tiny bit softer than the 305, but just a quick sound test for you guys to hear all of the buttons on both of the mice. Moving on to the scroll wheel, Both of the mice have a rubber grip, with the Harpoon just kind of feeling a bit more smooth with its rounded off edges, but it does have a bit more tension between each step, whereas the G305 has a sharper edge, but also pretty much a good scroll. Both do also have a DPI selection switch that lets you cycle through the 5 levels, each with its own specific color. The Harpoon has a permanent LED that's also a bit larger compared to the 305, with a LED that only lights up when you change your DPI, and it's also just a small rounded LED. Now, taking a look underneath the mice, the G305 features 6 glide pads with one around the center and then an on and off switch. The Harpoon, however, has 4 glide pads, the small compartment for the 2.4 GHz wireless USB receiver, and then what makes it stand out a bit more compared to the G305 and a lot of other wireless mice is that it has that connection option slider that lets you run the mouse either in wired mode, 2.4 GHz wireless, or Bluetooth, which in effect allows you to run it on 3 devices at the same time, which I did find really handy. But for the glide specifically, I did find that I personally liked the G305 a bit more. It felt more in control, but it was also a bit harder in a sense. The Harpoon felt smoother, but I didn't feel that in control with it. It's hard to describe, but I personally preferred the 305. Now, getting into another important aspect for all gaming mice, weight, which for wireless gaming mice is usually a problem. So for the Harpoon, it weighs in at around 100 grams, which is actually pretty good for a wireless gaming mouse at this price point when comparing it to even some of the more expensive ones weighing more. However, weight-wise, the G305 does take the cake, weighing in between 100 and 85 grams. Now, the reason for the weight difference is because of the battery you use and then also the top cover. The top cover on its own weighs around 7 grams, and if you really want to make the mouse extremely light, you can just remove the top cover and play without it, and it's still actually pretty comfortable because of how the mouse curves to the back. I honestly didn't have really a problem with that, but yeah, you might find it a bit different. And then you get into the batteries. So the G305 uses AA batteries, which can also impact the weight quite a bit. The included alkaline battery weighs in at 23 grams, whereas a lithium-ion battery can weigh only 15 grams. And if you want to take it even lower than that, you can get a AAA to AA converter, but that is kind of taking it a bit further. However, I personally just use a Energizer's rechargeable nickel metal hydrate battery, which does weigh a bit more at 24 grams, but it's rechargeable and I kind of have it, so I'm just using that at the moment. But now, getting into battery life. The Harpoon has a built-in rechargeable lithium polymer battery that can last up to 30 to 45 hours on a 2.4 GHz, depending on if you have your RGB on, and then between 40 to 60 hours on a Bluetooth. Whereas the G305 again uses a standard AA battery that again you can swap out if you wanted to, and Logitech states that you can get around 250 hours. Now, at the moment, I haven't used my G305 for that long, so I can't really say if it's exactly 250 hours, but there's a lot of people who does own the mouse and they're happy with it, so yeah, it might actually be around 250 hours. So the main reason why Logitech can actually get that much more battery life out of their batteries is because of their Hero sensor being so low on power compared to most of the other sensors. And then I do believe that the AA batteries do have a higher capacity than the built-in rechargeable battery on the Harpoon. But now in the end, it's just going to be up to what you personally like more, replacing the battery every now and then when you run out of that 250 hours. You can again use a rechargeable one also if you wanted to, or you can just charge the mouse more often, but you don't need to replace any of the batteries. And then what's also cool about the Harpoon is that you can use it in wired mode while it's charging, which the G305 doesn't have. It doesn't come with a cable. So you do have that option with the Harpoon Wireless. Now then, just before we get into how the mice actually perform, just for the software, they're pretty much standard. Again, you can change your DPI settings in the 5 DPI levels. You can adjust the polling rates. You can select different commands to each of the buttons, and you can change the lighting effects on the Harpoon Wireless. So it's pretty much standard what you get there, nothing really too crazy. But now, finally, let's get into how these mice actually perform. So for these sensors, the Harpoon uses the new PMW3325 optical sensor with a max DPI of 10,000, 1000 Hz polling rate, and 100 IPS. For the G305, it uses Logitech's Euro optical sensor with a max DPI of 12,000, 1000 Hz polling rate, and an IPS of 400. Now, it's not really that easy to say which one performs better, because both are actually really good. Nowadays, if you got anything above like a PMW3320 sensor, all of them are pretty much good. But I will say that in the end, I did feel like the G305 might have been a slightly bit better, but again, it was so damn close. There's a zero latency between both of the mice in wireless mode. Bluetooth, there is a bit more, that's like 7 or 8 milliseconds. So of course for gaming, that's not going to work on the Harpoon. But in the 2.4 gigahertz, it's honestly perfect. Tracking was excellent. Liftoff distance is also relatively low for both of the mice. And then there was no sensor rollouts or any other issues that I experienced with both of them. So honestly, in the end, it's just going to be up to what you personally like more, which shape fits your hand better, or what features you like more. And I personally, I have to say that if I was only going to game on them, I would go for the G305 just because of how it actually fits on my hand and the battery life, which isn't too bad as well. Now, I'm not particularly a fan usually of ambidextrous mice, but for some reason the G305 actually is really comfortable for me, which was a surprise. I was actually worried about that. So good job for the G305, was actually really good. But now if you do want to have one mouse that can handle multiple systems, whether it's like your gaming, your work, or even using it on a phone, tablet, or a different laptop, the multi-connection on the Harpoon Wireless is really awesome, and I actually did end up using it quite a lot on my work PC, my gaming PC down there, and then also on my laptop and sometimes even my phone, because it does have the Bluetooth, which is awesome. I love that feature. Just unfortunately not a lot of other wireless gaming mice actually has that. So at the end of the day, both of these mice are honestly excellent mice to get. I honestly think that these are some of the best like mice on the market even as well, with just having a bunch of features performing extremely well, especially with like the Hero sensor, the new 3325 sensor as well. There's just really awesome mice, and it's just going to be up to what you personally like more. Do you want more like performance with the sensor for all of your gaming and like esports, or you want more multi-featured options with its multi-connection and then also performing really well in tracking in games? So it's going to be up to what you personally like. I have both of them now, so I'm kind of happy I don't have to choose. So yeah, I'll leave a link for both of these in the video description if you want to get them for yourself, either on RebelTech if you live here in South Africa, or Amazon if you live overseas. Also, just a big thanks to actually Corsair for sending over the Harpoon Wireless. I did have to buy the G305, so yeah, but anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment like always. Also, if you have any other mice or gear you want me to review, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll check all of you guys next time. Cheers, guys.